So today I'm on the Belfast pop-on tour.
On est déjà parti. Et on est tous là.
Paula, can everybody see me? Can everybody understand me? No. Oh, yeah. No, I know. I don't understand myself either, to be honest. So I am your driver this morning, okay? Is anybody getting off? I know, you've only just got on and I'm asking you to get off. I know, it's not very nice. Okay.
So the tour starts at Donegal Square West, outside Hellcat Maggers.
As we start moving, to your right you can see Belfast City Hall, built back in 1906 on the site of the old White Linen Hall. The building features a prominent statue of Queen Victoria at the front. The reason being that it was Queen Victoria who granted Belfast its city status. During the Victorian era, Belfast became a very prosperous and wealthy city, expanding its population rapidly due to the huge growth in the linen industry, which was thanks to the shortage of cotton across Europe caused by the American Civil War. We are now driving down Chichester Street, which is named after Lord Chichester. On the left in Arthur Street, you can see one of the old, very ornate bank buildings, which were built to house all the money sent here to pay for linen purchases, as well as for the ships built in the Harland and Wolff shipyard. Things had to be paid for in cash, or maybe even gold, as there was no such thing as bank transfers in those days. So Belfast needed lots of banks. Today, a lot of these lovely buildings have been converted into hotels or pubs, and they have been very successful. Imagine, a pub doing well in Ireland, a mystery. We are turning left into Victoria Street, and on the right, the red brick building is Belfast's Old Town Hall, recently used as a courthouse and now lying vacant. Maybe someone should open a pub in it. Next on the left, you can see a yellow featured fountain, which is the Jaffa Memorial at the entrance to Victoria Square Shopping Mall. Lord Jaffa was the first and so far the only Jewish Lord Mayor of Belfast. After the memorial is Bickle's Bar, the thinnest bar in Belfast. In front of us, we can see the Albert Memorial Clock Tower, known as Belfast's answer to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The clock tilts to the right and also towards us. The reason for the tilt is because where the clock stands was once where the River Farset ran. The river was diverted and the marshy land was reclaimed, but the clock tower was built on a foundation of wooden beams, which eventually rotted and the clock tilted. Local people will tell you a different story, and that is because this is the area of the old docks of Belfast where the Victorian red light district was. It is said the ladies of the night would lean against the clock waiting for the sailors to arrive, and that this pushed the clock over. On the left is the Custom House and Custom House Square. This was a good place to have the customs office, right beside the dock. Here you can also see the Big Fish sculpture, which is made up of hundreds of small tiles. Each tile was made by a different primary school from across Belfast. We are now crossing the Queen Elizabeth Bridge that takes us over the River Lagan, the largest river in Belfast, which flows into Belfast Lough on our left. We are going to turn left into Queen's Island, and in front of us we can see Belfast's Millennium Project, which is the home of the Odyssey complex. The complex includes a bowling alley, a cinema, various restaurants and pubs, plus an arena. The arena is an ice rink and is the home of the Belfast Giants ice hockey team. Ice hockey is the first cross-community sport in Belfast, and the Giants are a very successful team, which has performed extremely well in the UK's Elite Ice Hockey League. Why is this? Well, the Giants employ Americans and Canadians to come and play for us, as they are really good at it. At one point, when deciding on a name for the team, the name Belfast Bombers was proposed, but it was decided against for obvious reasons.
Ils sont un beau green. Ils ont un beau green. La pelouse. Beau green.
Montez le son. Faut appuyer en bas au qui rouge. C'est rouge en bas.
We are now driving into the Titanic Quarter, named after the ill-fated liner, the Titanic. The Titanic sank on the 14th of April 1912, but despite this terrible tragedy, with over 1,500 people losing their lives, the people of Belfast are very proud that the Titanic was built here in the shipyard of Harland and Wolff. We have a saying here now called the Titanic Quarter started. On the left is the SS Nomadic, the only remaining ship still afloat from the White Star Line. This ship was built to shuttle mail, baggage and passengers to the Titanic and its sister ship, the Olympic, when they were at Cherbourg, as these large ships themselves were too big to dock in the French port. Tours of the Nomadic are available. On the left, the large building in the shape of a star is the Titanic Experience Building, which is a huge tourist attraction. It has a tour explaining everything about the Titanic, from its conception to its tragic sinking on its maiden voyage. The red brick building on the left is the old drawing rooms of the shipyard, which is where the Titanic was designed. Today, this building has been transformed into a hotel named the Titanic Hotel. It is very popular with wedding parties, and, believe it or not, people have been known to have a few beverages at an Irish wedding and maybe even enjoy themselves a bit. The large grey building on the left is Titanic Studios, and this was once the paint room for the shipyard. It is now a movie studio, and amongst other productions, this is where a lot of the Game of Thrones interior sets were filmed by HBO. Belfast has become a great place to make movies and TV shows over the last 20 years or more, and is fast becoming the Hollywood of Europe. On your left, you will see the HMS Caroline, which is the only still floating warship from the Battle of Jutland in 1916 during the First World War. It was used as a cadet training vessel for a time, and it is now used as a maritime museum. Tours of the ship are available. The Titanic was fitted out with the likes of its grand staircase and luxury cabins before leaving Belfast for sea trials. As we turn back towards the city centre, on the left you can see the huge yellow cranes of the shipyard. These were once the largest cranes in the world and are called Samson and Goliath after the biblical characters. They were not used to construct the Titanic, as they were only built here in 1969 and 1972. They were brought here by Aristotle Onassis, who famously married JFK's wife, Jackie. Onassis built the first oil supertankers here in Belfast using these cranes. They have become Belfast's answer to the Eiffel Tower, and Belfast City Council has now designated them structures of architectural or historic interest. city of Belfast has a population of approximately 350,000 people, and Greater Belfast population is around 670,000 people. It has a very young population and is well known for its nightlife, with many pubs, clubs and places to eat, including Michelin-starred restaurants as well as music venues. There really is something for everyone here, so please go out and enjoy it all. Just be careful of the locals, as they generally don't go out for just 1 or 2 drinks. If you join their company, you may be out into the early hours of the morning. Belfast's linen industry was once so big that Belfast got the nickname Linenopolis. The shipyards in Belfast became the largest in the world, and at one point produced 1/4 of the entire UK's shipping by tonnage. As we drive back into the city centre, we are crossing the River Lagan, and on the left you can see the Waterfront Hall, built back in 1997, and a great venue for small concerts and events. At the end of the bridge on the left is a sculpture, the Beacon of Hope, which was erected to symbolise peace, but it has gained a couple of nicknames, one being Nula with the Hula, and the other one being the Thing with the Ring. On the right, coming up, are the Laganside courts. During the Troubles, the courts were often the target of bombings, so when this new courthouse was built in the late 1990s, it was of concern to a lot of people that it was mostly clad in glass, as this was thought to be an invitation to blow it up. Thankfully, this did not happen. Next on the right is the Royal Courts of Justice, or the High Court. This building was opened in 1933, and the large wall you can see around it is not an original feature, but is in fact a blast wall erected to protect the building from bombs. On the left is St George's Market, a Victorian indoor market that has several thriving markets a week. Its most popular is the Sunday morning market, with all sorts of foods available, plus live music and market stalls. It underwent an extensive and expensive renovation in the late 1990s and is also used for small civic gatherings and concerts. On the left you can see the British Telecom building, which has no windows on the ground floor, and parts of the building have its windows boarded up. This is an example of a government building from the 1980s and 1990s, very heavily fortified and built to take minimum damage from a bomb blast. We will be travelling along the rear of City Hall and turning left into Bedford Street.
Yeah.
On va tourner.
On the left, you will see the Ulster Hall, the Victorian Events Hall, which has seen many performances from bands like the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Simple Minds and Ruby Murray. It is where Led Zeppelin first performed Stairway to Heaven. It has also been a venue for political meetings, boxing matches, and has even hosted beer festivals. After the Ulster Hall, as we approach the traffic lights, is the BBC Northern Ireland headquarters.
BBC. Souriez, vous êtes filmé. Ah ouais, tiens. Ils construisent quand même des bâtiments modernes. Hein. Ah ouais. Un peu vieillot, ça commence à changer. Un peu plus haut.
We are currently travelling along the Golden Mile, which is the 1 mile stretch between City Hall and Queen's University. This is where the main nightlife of Belfast happens, home to many pubs, clubs, restaurants and fast food takeaways. It's a very vibrant student area, mostly coming to life at night.
Échafaudé, t'as vu ça? Il y a beaucoup d'échafaudage. Hello?
Travelling through Shaftesbury Square, we can see a very busy area for nightlife, including Lavery's, an historic family-owned bar on the left, and Benedict's Hotel on the right, a great spot for cocktails and evening meals.
Lobby.
Arriver sur la sur la gauche.
C'est l'église de décidément. Gilles, il leur fait là. Ouais, c'est.
Et puis il faudrait la prendre. Ici c'est pareil. Celle-là elle a bien fermé. Ouais. Et même c'est partout comme je disais.
Japon et Chine.
Ils sont fermés. J'ai rempli le. C'est pas grave. Parce que j'avais lu une des deux là-dessus, et c'est vrai que. Je me dis, bah.
Au soleil aussi. Il fait les deux. La religion, on est contre-guerre.
Coming up on the left is Queen's University's main building, the Lanyon Building, named after the designer Sir Charles Lanyon. Queen's University was opened in 1849 and offers about 300 courses to students. Its grounds are open to the public and it is right next door to the Botanical Gardens. The gardens, which are highly recommended for a visit, feature a Victorian palm house as well as the Ulster Museum and its collections of art.
Couper la route, lui. Il veut couper la route.
Ah ouais, elle va y aller. Attention, allez, le camion, tu vas t'arrêter parce que nous on tourne.
Merci.
On n'est pas à contre-sens, des fois.
Ouais.
Yes!
This is Elmwood Avenue, a typical leafy, tree-lined street in the more expensive BT9 postcode area of Belfast. Interestingly, it has two churches, one at each end of the street, one called All Saints and one called All Souls. At the bottom of the avenue is the Queen's University Medical Biology building, where many a young doctor and nurse have been trained. The building joins onto Belfast City Hospital with its iconic tower block, which can be seen from much of Belfast.
C'est l'hôpital.
Ça va Mireille?
Elle est là?
On l'a perdu.
Elle est à l'hôpital.
Ah, c'est elle qui répond en anglais.
Ah, en plus je la vois pas. Ah mais elle est au fond.
Elle fait la balance.
Elle a
Je suis passé sur le côté.
comme ça.
Elle est bien remplie, bon ça va, ça va bien protégé.
Ouais, mais c'est...
Bah ouais. Heureusement.
Elle a fait,
Ouais, heureusement,
elle a fait
ouais.
combien tonneaux?
Ça aurait été Chantal, elle le sert mal.
Ah ben, ouais, parce qu'elle est toute plate, Chantal.
Ah, elle, ça l'a...
Elle c'était directement le jeu.
Elle, c'était une crème.
Là, c'était pas le devant qui passait derrière, parce qu'il a ni un devant ni derrière. Alors, mais bon, il faut bien aller. Bon, il est doucement. Voilà.
Non, mais elle a vraiment de la chance de pas se faire
Ah
mal.
oui, oui, puis pas rapide du tout. Hein.
Parce que
Si, elle a un bleu au cou.
quand tu tombes comme ça, toi-même, des fois tu te fais mal.
Elle s'en tire à bon coup.
Ah bah attends.
Il est très respectueux des autres, t'as vu, ça s'arrête, le but il ne klaxonne pas. Hein.
Ouais.
Ah là, elle est crabouillée nana, mais...
Ben, elle se presse, hein. La priorité à droite,
Ouais.
comme nous. Ouais, parce qu'il faut avoir la priorité à gauche. Queen's University, Belfast.
C'est quand même étonnant qu'on roule à gauche et que c'est pris.
Ouais, c'est...
Oui, c'est ce que je viens de dire. Pourquoi on n'aurait pas priorité à gauche?
C'est pas logique.
Ben voilà.
Non, non, c'est assez...
Nous, en France, on roule à droite, mais on doit la priorité à droite.
Bah oui.
Ici, ils n'ont pas de la priorité.
Attention,
Ah bon?
sur 3 billets, tu les repères pas. Tu vois pas la différence entre une vieille et une jeune là. Elles sont... Et tout chouchou, monsieur le taxi, vous m'emmenez.
Passing the City Hospital on the left, an old cement hotel can be seen on the right. This was the Russell Court Hotel, which was blown up twice in the 1970s, forcing its owners to abandon it. For a period, it was used for nurses' accommodation and emergency accommodation.
Bon, ben voilà, j'ai plus rien.
Je compris que c'est le bâtiment sauté.
De toute façon, j'ai plus de son.
Non, ça va chercher, ça va chercher. C'est bon? Attends, bouge pas. Parce que là, ça va.
C'est un fort, quoi.
Ah ouais.
Parce que chez nous, c'est tout en pierre. Parce que dès que tu creuses, c'est de la pierre. Ici, il n'y a pas de pierre.
La brique, on s'en
C'est
servait,
la terre.
que pour la construction intérieure.
Ouais.
Et la tuile, on servait de la,
C'est que de
la
la
terre cuite.
la terre.
Voilà. On s'en servait pour la couverture.
Mais ça a son charme aussi, mais on voit que maintenant, toutes les constructions qu'ils font actuellement, ils font plus, c'est en
C'est
brique.
fini maintenant. On passe tout en panneau, en béton, il doit être phosphorescent. Les branches qui sont, les clairs.
Ah ouais, on est passé là parce que j'ai essayé d'apprendre ça.
Il est passé là, mais vraiment, elle est passée en arrivant. Non, c'est important parce qu'il y avait les stations. Ce matin, tu as raison. Parce qu'il y avait bâtiment de construction là-bas. Bravo les douces. Elle tourne en rond en fait. Ouais. Le senteur, on l'a déjà vu là-bas. Un truc en vitrage là-bas.
Great Victoria Street is the home of Belfast's most famous hotel, the Europa Hotel. It is famous for all the wrong reasons. Because it was bombed out 36 times from when it opened in 1971 until 1993. It is also where Bill and Hillary Clinton stayed when they visited Belfast in 1995. On the right opposite the hotel is Belfast's most famous pub, the Crown Liquor Saloon, which is a very fine example of a Victorian gin palace.
Wow.
It is divided into private snugs and is featured in various TV shows and movies, including Odd Man Out and an episode of Cold Feet. It is very heavily decorated with tiles and stained glass windows, all produced by Italians who were in Belfast building churches and were persuaded by the owner of the pub to work on his bar. Also on the left is the Grand Opera House, one of the finest auditoriums in Europe and possibly the most bombed theatre in Europe. As when the Europa Hotel got bombed, the Opera House was often damaged too. Charlie Chaplin performed here, and so did Luciano Pavarotti, among many others.
So this is the Europa.
Là où on va se faire. Machin qui se met devant.
Je vais prendre 2 fois.
Prochain mec.
Arrête de jouer.
Ouais, on verra ce soir, ça.
C'est pris 1 fois. Je vais prendre une deuxième, mais j'avais le soleil dans les mains.
Jamais jamais. Juste au moment, puis après, strictement. Donc, elle n'a plus rien à dire.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle en fait du cycliste?
Elle est en pause.
Là, on va faire on va recharger.
Quand même vachement de vélo, je serais moins de vélo.
As we turn left into Divis Street, we are entering the heartland of republicanism in Belfast. In front of us, we can see Divis Tower, a typical 1960s cement tower block with 96 flats of social housing similar to those found all across Europe. However, this building is very different. During the 1970s, the British Army occupied the top 2 floors of this building, and used it as an army observation post with great views across Belfast from the top. This post remained until 2005. When the building was used by the army, they could only access the post by helicopter, as it would be too dangerous to use the stairs. The tower features prominently in a local TV comedy series called Give My Head Peace. On the right, above the red brick houses, the peace line is very clearly visible. This peace wall divides the Republican Falls area with the Loyalist Shankill area, where similar houses are only a few feet away from the fence. The peace wall continues to the right as we drive along the road, and if you look along some of the streets on the right, you can see they have been completely sealed off, with no access to the other side at all. The large mill on the right acts as a peace line, and it has two entrances for the workers to use, one for the Catholic workers to use, and another on the other side for Protestant workers. The wall of the flour mill has numerous murals painted on it, and is known as the International Wall. The murals here will have been painted by the Republican side of the community, and are often changed to show current international conflicts, as well as local heroes and conflict memorials. As we turn right onto Northumberland Street, you can see a set of gates. These are closed every night at 7 p.m. and reopened at 7 a.m. These are just one set of gates, and this is just one peace wall of many across Belfast. We are now crossing over from the Republican Falls area into the Loyalist Shankill area.
La grille.
Les picots là, la grille,
La grille pour
Tous les morts qui ont été enterrés. Enfin, même aujourd'hui, ils sont tous, ils les empilent maintenant. Ils sont encore moins grands.
Parce qu'on va tourner là.
Où va-t-on, ouais.
Je suppose que c'est lui.
Ouais, c'est sûr.
C'est un peu comme à Bayonne. Ce qui s'est passé avec.
We've just been told that every road in Belfast is being closed at 1 p.m. So I guess I'm going to change my plans for this afternoon. I suppose I'll have to try and find somewhere for a pint of Guinness or two.
Tu l'entends brailler. Ah, il y en a une. Hein. Elle est essoufflée comme ça. Ouais, en tout cas, elle s'essouffle.
So I'm going through the peace gates here.
As soon as we cross the peace line, it is immediately apparent that we are in a Loyalist area, as the murals to the right of the bus show Union flags and memorials of the First and Second World Wars. Before taking a look at Loyalist Shankill, we are going to travel along the peace wall to give you an idea of its scale. The peace walls were built by the British Army back in 1969, when the army had been called into Northern Ireland at the request of the Republican side of the community to protect them from the Loyalist side of the community. Not knowing what to do with the two communities who were trying to kill each other, the army decided just to keep them apart, and they started building temporary peace lines, mostly using corrugated iron walls. Soon they realised they would need stronger walls and started to build them from reinforced concrete.
Des nouvelles constructions, regarde, c'est joli. Hein.
Ah ouais, franchement, ouais.
Ouais, c'est quand même pas mal. Hein.
J'aime mieux,
Avec
j'aime
une
mieux.
Il faut encore des briques. Hein.
J'aime mieux la briquette quand même.
Ils font encore des briques.
Ah, par contre, regarde, ça fait un
Ça,
peu
c'est
plus-
pas beau, ça.
Avec les regards de style, hein, avec les devant.
Le jour de la paix. New Life. Oups là, bouge pas, madame.
Oups. Elles sont pas faites des maisons, là, regarde.
Et encore pour les anciennes fondations. Ah, il y a les panneaux solaires dessus. C'est résidentiel.
As you can see, the walls are very strong, but they weren't tall enough, as stones and missiles could be thrown over the wall. The British Army put a fence on top of the wall, but this was still not high enough, so they had to put a fence on top of the fence on top of the wall. However, the wall is still not high enough. If throwing stones was an Olympic event, Northern Ireland would be gold medal winners every time. Along the wall are various paintings and graffiti paintings painted by artists from all over the world. But if you look closely, you can see where tourists from around the world have written messages of peace on the wall and signed their names. There are a few dirty jokes written on the wall, so it's perhaps best not to look too closely. If you look left, when the bus turns to the right, you will see the Lanark Way gates, one of the biggest crossings of the Peace Line. These gates are usually open 24 hours a day, but if the police see any trouble, they can remotely shut the gates as they are electronically operated.
Non, ça vend pas du rêve quand même. Et tout ça, c'est les gens qui écrivent des messages de paix, mais parfois il y a des messages salaces.
Et de l'autre côté, il y a les grands portails qui peuvent fermer.
Quand on va tourner à droite, les portails sont à gauche.
S'il y a un problème, ils les ferment encore aujourd'hui. Quand il y a des problèmes, tout est fermé. Voilà, comme ça.
Façon électronique. Alors, where's the portail? Ah oui, là-bas au fond.
Voilà, c'est ça. Fermé. Voilà. Non, c'est à s'ouvrir. Et quand il y a un problème, électroniquement, il est fermé. Pour éviter
À
le...
7h30 le soir, il ferme.
Allez, restez chez vous.
C'est dingue.
Ouais. C'est une drôle de vie quand même.
Sur une île, pas pouvoir s'entendre.
Il y a encore des constructions à faire.
On va y aller quelque chose là.
Ils
sont démolis.
C'est un terrain qui n'est pas mis.
Il y a des enrobés, il y avait une construction là.
On va se transformer en lotissement.
Qu'est-ce qui est marqué là? Non. Des fenêtres,
C'est ça?
regarde la façade de la maison. Là. La façade, c'est tout noir.
Ouais.
C'est une drôle, il n'y a pas de commentaire.
Non, il n'y a plus.
Allez, la façade est toute noire. Pas noir, carrément.
As we turn right onto the Shankill Road, we can see numerous murals on the gable walls of buildings, many of which portray local loyalist flute bands. Others show memorials from the First and Second World Wars, as many people from this area would have joined the British Army and still do to this day. Other murals show memorials to the loyalist paramilitary groups set up during the Troubles, in opposition to the Republican paramilitary groups.
Avance.
Avance, tu m'empêches de prendre ma photo.
Ça c'est là. Pica. J'ai vu ça. C'est un peu juste là. Ouais. Un peu embillé.
Ouais, c'est ça.
J'ai voir si ça marche. J'arrive pas à capter le son.
On the left is the Court Credit Union building. This was the site of the Shankill bombing on the 23rd of October 1993. At the time, this building was a fish shop, and it was blown up by the IRA, killing 9 innocent shoppers on a Saturday afternoon. The bombing brought about a terrible time in Northern Ireland's history, as the loyalist paramilitaries mounted a campaign of terror against the Republican side of the community. Eventually, this culminated in the IRA calling a ceasefire 10 months later in August 1994, and this started what we now call the peace process. Near here, you will also see murals of the King and Queen, as well as murals commemorating various bombings and murders that took place on the Shankill Road.
T'as vu la porte d'à côté? Ils l'ont arrachée. Kebab.
Qu'est-ce qu'il va lui faire?
Le rideau d'à côté, il a moitié arraché.
C'est pas des Noirs, c'est des Indiens.
Oui, j'ai vu des Indiens, ouais.
Il y a beaucoup de.
Ils ont le teint noir, mais
Bah, ils ont été sous domination anglaise aussi, les Indes.
ah ouais, d'accord.
Du coup, il parle anglais.
C'est pour ça qu'il y en a.
Ouais, et il y en a beaucoup.
Ils sont expatriés beaucoup en Europe, au Royaume-Uni.
Ouais, d'accord.
J'ai pas vu la peinture.
Après, ce matin, on a allé.
Oui,
Qui était à côté de nous, parlait l'anglais comme nous, on parle le bourguignon.
Ouais, ouais.
Parce que français, c'est vrai. Ah, il y a aussi des DPD là.
Il y a des DPD, pas des gilets. Ah, puis ils ne sont pas aidés. Hein.
Il est électrique, le DPD. Ah, ben voilà.
Ah, bah regarde notre princesse. Oui, Elisabeth II. La reine. La reine Queen. Elle était jeune, elle était vieille. T'as pris la jeune, la vieille?
Ah, ben c'est Charles.
Oh, Charles, non, j'aime pas lui. Il a parvenu, lui. J'aime mieux sa mère. C'est quelqu'un.
Oui, c'est pour rien.
Il sera jamais à la hauteur.
Ah bah,
Non, de toute façon, il n'a pas. Donc, c'est tout. Ils prennent une emprise. Les Chinois. Ils s'approprient de.
Ouais. Bah oui, ça va.
Et là, on était beaucoup amenés avec l'argent américain. La retraite américaine. Investissent.
Ah.
Voilà, bravo.
Ah.
Et là, faut s'habituer à ça. Hein.
Ah ouais, hein.
Ah mais ils sont habitués là. Il ne faut pas perdre un tour. Hein.
Ah, si elle ne mord pas le trottoir, ça va être chaud. Hein.
Ah, il fait exprès. Hein, ça.
Non.
Clever Belfast.
Ah non.
Driving that.
C'est bien.
Impressionnant quand même. Hein. Et nous on va tourner là. Et on va tourner à gauche. Pas d'habitude ça. Hein.
Ah, c'est
Tourne à
à
droite.
gauche là, c'est à droite. Là.
Ouais, c'est tourne à droite.
Ouais, à droite pardon. Non mais on reste à gauche, je veux dire. Voilà. On tourne,
Ça c'est normal pour rester.
As we drive down the Crumlin Road, to the left is the Victorian Crumlin Road Jail, and on the right is the courthouse. Both buildings were designed by the Ulster architect and engineer Sir Charles Lanyon. The jail is now refurbished and is open for tours. The old jail also houses the McConnell's Whisky Distillery, which is also open for tours and tastings. The courthouse on the right has been through a few developers' hands, and it is thought it will become a hotel. The Mater Hospital on the left, or Mater, depending on which side of the community you're from, is one of the 3 major hospitals in Belfast, the others being the Royal Victoria and Belfast City Hospitals.
C'est triste là.
Ouais, là c'est abandonné à droite. Les arbres ils poussent sur les murs.
Moi j'ai une belle statue en haut.
C'est vrai?
Ouais, c'est vraiment ça. C'est un beau bâtiment. Il faut en remettre comme partout. Hein. Beaucoup d'argent à remettre. Il est abandonné.
Ouais.
Pourquoi?
Ça va, je crois.
Et tout, il y a même un éclairage extérieur avec des machins assez modernes.
Peut-être qu'ils allument.
cœur.
Il faut pas qu'il lâche maintenant.
J'arrête. On l'a vu quand on est arrivé. L'église, là. Vachement ouverte, hein. Là, on va à travers. C'est mal fait les vitres de l'autre côté.
Il a laissé passer.
As we approach the roundabout, we enter Carlisle's Circus. The large church on the right is the Carlisle Memorial Methodist Church. Part of the church is now an Indian community centre, and the rest is under redevelopment. Carlisle Circus is where the Belfast 12th of July Orange Order Parade starts from, as this is where the Orange Order District No. 1 Hall is situated, which can be seen on the right, with a large statue of King William III on the roof. As we continue through the traffic lights, on the left is the old Victorian workhouse. It's built on the site of the original St Patrick's Church, which was part funded by Protestant business families in 1815. The priest's house to the left can be identified by the large brass door. Also on the left are the newsrooms of one of Belfast's newspapers, the Irish News. And on the right is a statue of Lenin, which is over the entrance to Belfast's largest gate club, the Kremlin. We are now entering Royal Avenue and the main shopping areas of Belfast. On the right is Castle Court Shopping Mall, the first to open in Belfast in 1990. Even before it opened its doors, it had been blown up several times. It is situated on the site of the original Grand Hotel and the Avenue Cinema. The cinema has now reopened inside the shopping mall. This is Donegal Place, and as we continue along towards the City Hall, many more of Belfast's shops can be seen on the left-hand side. In front of the shops, you can see the large curved lights with what look like sails on them, carrying the names of many famous ships built in the shipyard. The City Hall can be seen in all its glory from here, and often hosts continental markets and Christmas markets in its grounds. The City Hall is open to the public and tours can be taken. The grounds of the City Hall contain numerous statues and memorials, including the memorial to the Titanic victims, and also the guarantee team who went down trying to keep the ship afloat. As we drive to the rear of City Hall, we will shortly be stopping, so please remain seated until the bus stops and retrieve all your personal belongings before getting off the bus. Thank you for choosing Sightseeing Belfast, the local company. And if you want to join us on a day trip to the Giant's Causeway, all information is available on our website or from our ticket sellers. Please leave us a nice review, and if you want to thank our driver today, tips are accepted at the door.
On ne veut pas lui donner 50 €, c'est tout.
Ah, mais c'est là qu'on était tout à l'heure.
Ouais, on arrive. On arrive. On a dit de rester assis jusqu'à la... Non, on les a mis dans les oreilles.
Tu le revends 10 €. Ouais.
Elle n'a pas peur. Hein. Oh,
Ah, les branches.
ouais, et eux, derrière, ils les prennent. Ah oui, il faut baisser la tête. Hein. Ouais, elle a peur de rien, hein, la chauffeuse.
And that's the end of the tour.